A question that we received this week is, how do I handle my teenager's depressive or suicidal thoughts?
Serious question. Because, again, there's no right answer to this. At the same time, I want to throw out some skills here that might help a little bit. I think it's so common now to have our teenagers feel this incredibly depressed mood sometimes. And of course, we talk about it everywhere. And the suicidal thoughts make it very complex as well. And, we've got to take suicidal thoughts very serious. If there's ever suicidal feelings or thoughts, they've got to be listened to. And I think it's, number one, it's imperative that people get help and that people get their child and to see a professional that can see how serious the suicidal ideation is. Because if it's, you just can't take a risk with those kind of things. And I always take suicidal ideation very, very serious. So that's the first thing, is take it serious and then listen. Typically when a child is feeling depressed or suicidal, as parents, we often will say things, well, don't feel that way, or you don't want to feel that way. It'd be like saying, don't think of the color green, or don't think of the number 3, well, you're just going to reinforce it, over and over and over. And so it's imperative to listen to that young person and hear what they have to say. So words like, tell me more about that. So what's that like for you? Or versus, a lot of times as parents, we want to say, well, why are you feeling that way? Or what's going on? Or did somebody do something bad to you? We want to figure out a problem. Sometimes it's not a problem. Sometimes it's not even anything that happened. Sometimes they're just feeling that they need to feel safe and hear. But if you can use words like tell me, or and I think a lot of parents don't want to hear that a child is having some suicidal feelings. And so we'll often tell them not to feel that way, or not to, that's the worst thing we could do, is try to fix or tell them they should think some other way.
Yeah.
And so I think hearing them and saying to them, yeah, sometimes people do feel suicidal. Sometimes people do feel depressed. Sometimes people do feel discouraged. Tell me more about what's going on for you. And then listen. Because typically when a child starts talking, or a young adult starts talking, or a young person starts talking, we interrupt and we want to fix it, like you say. Men especially, where we want to get our baling wire and our duct tape out and repair it right away. Yeah. And in reality, that sometimes they just need to say how they're feeling and say what's going on. And typically, yeah. So that must be really difficult. It must be very hard. And you don't always have to fix a problem. I always tell people, you throw it on the table, hear it all, hear what feels good, what hurts. Sometimes that's very healing, just to say it out loud. And for a young person to know that they can say to their parents anything they want to say to them. They won't get in trouble. They just get to be responsible, or they don't get in trouble. And I like to say to young people and adults, it's a choice you have. That would be a very sad choice, be a very inappropriate choice. But when you start seeing the world as having choices, people who feel suicidal feel like they're trapped in a corner and they feel like there are no choices. Yeah. And so I always like to put out there, it's a choice you have. It wouldn't be a very healthy choice, and it would be a long-term solution for maybe a short-term problem. At the same time, it's a choice that everyone has, every human being has. Yeah. And just like the choice of using drugs, or the choice of driving too fast or whatever, if we can see our life as choices, it empowers us and frees us up a little bit more. So to talk openly about that, validate their feelings, and the depression and the hurt, the anxiety, the pain, whatever's going on for that young person, and then talk about the choices and things, options, and are there anything else that would work for you, or what would support you best? And then listen, because they know themselves best, and they know what they need. And sometimes we're not very good at listening and hearing. We know better. Oh, always, it's like me. Of course I know better. So I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. If you to answer that question, but to really listen to that young person, then we can find out what they do need and where they need to be, and what will support them best.
Yeah. I would say, like, I went through some mild anxiety, and I remember just coming to my dad and talking to him about what was going on. And he never said, do this, do that, do this, just stop, just get over it. He always just validated exactly what I said. He said, okay, tell me more, tell me more. And honestly, I think that's how I got over it. It's because he just validated me and will let me feel the feelings that I did have. And I think that because of that, I chose the path that I could, because he explained that some people do this, some people do that, and I decided that what I wanted to be.
But that's another good option. And what you're talking about is, I always think it's great to say some people do this, some people do that, and because I think overall, human beings in general, we want to choose things that'll work better in our lives. We don't really want to take the negative path,
Yeah.
and we don't get up in the morning and say, how can I be depressed today? But we do end up feeling that depression and that negativity. So I'm glad you remember that. Some people do this, some people do that. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's empowering to know that you're the chooser. You have that ability to choose every nanosecond. Because most of us, many times we feel like we're trapped in a corner. We don't have a choice.
Right.
It's being done to us. We're victims. And when in reality, even, we all have that ability to choose a better path or a better way.
Yeah.
Many people have read the book Man's Search for Meaning, and the story of a man in a concentration camp, and he said, they took away everything from us. They took away our clothes, our shoes, our hair, our glasses, our teeth. They could not take away our ability to choose. They couldn't do that. So we always do go back and get in touch with. We always have the ability to choose. We may not choose what happened to us, but we can choose how we're going to handle what happens to us, which is an incredible concept to keep practicing. We always say we get good at what we practice. So if you practice choosing, it helps. It makes a difference. And